What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the DraftKings AFC Championship game contenders video. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. No one expected the Bengals to get this far, and everyone, just about everyone, expected the Chiefs to get this far, but it took a Herculean effort from that offense to get past the Buffalo Bills, and we will quibble all about the overtime rules after we figure out who's in and who's winning the Super Bowl, and that comes down to this weekend. Before we get into this one, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, Fan Up. If you haven't checked out Fan Up, now is the best time to do so. They have NFL and NBA contests going right now, including the Conference Chaos contest with $4,000 winner take all to first place here. And if you use promo code Awesemo, you can get 2,000 bonus points, which is the equivalent of $20 cash on their site to bet on. That's pretty great there, and you don't have to have a deposit to make those bets and get those points. So use promo code Awesemo today. Okay guys, on the screen here you see my 10 through 6 of my top plays on DraftKings for this one game slate. At number 10, it's Tyler Boyd, certainly the third option in the receiving game and the fourth option overall for the Cincinnati Bengals, but still the floor and ceiling combination for a third option, that's pretty darn good. Tyler Boyd sitting around 10 expected fantasy points per game. He's in the optimal lineup 35% of the time. Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, he's in there 36% of the time. A better floor play than a ceiling play, but you can always play kickers on teams that are home favorites, especially ones favored by a touchdown. Then Joe Mixon. It's really just salary considerations here. I like him in the main slate better actually here, but that doesn't mean he's a bad play all of a sudden. We're just deciding salary-based value. Mixon has a chance to really exceed salary-based expectations in both formats here. I like him as a flex play because of that guaranteed volume. He's in the optimal lineup 37% of the time. And then in a nice little line, Travis Kelce is number 7, 38% of the time. He's showing up in the optimal lineup. I love him as a captain play. The salary is hard. You got to make a lot of concessions around him if you do play him at captain, but man, you could see another game here like he had a couple weeks ago, 150, 180 yards receiving like he had against the Chargers just 5 weeks ago. Certainly in the range of outcomes for Kelce. And then finally at number 6, we have Jerick McKinnon, a really exciting value play considering he's had at least 17 opportunities in 2 straight games, and we're talking about a 5,000 salary player. That's really exciting. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be a first-round pick. Darrell Williams might be back from injury. They might want CEH to be a thing more than Jerick McKinnon, but he's been the most explosive player on the field, or certainly in the backfield, I should say, for this team. Over 30 fantasy points, probably an under 10% chance, but over 20, that's the sweet spot there. I think he scores probably over 15, 2/3 of the time, a really solid median projection. He doesn't quite crack the top 5 though. Who does? Let's watch him find out. At number 5, T. Higgins, wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals, and this passing attack, led by Joe Burrow with JaMarr Chase and T. Higgins, of course, has to show up against the Chiefs if they want any chance of keeping this game close or maybe pulling off the upset on the road. And the Chiefs are not a superior defense. They were 12th of 14 teams that qualified for the playoffs in PFF's team defensive grades, and they were below average in schedule-adjusted fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. So T. Higgins actually has a really solid ceiling here. He's scoring over 30 fantasy points in nearly 15% of our simulations, and he's got a median projection over 16 fantasy points. So at 7,800, you're not talking about a premium salary. You're talking about a mid-tier salary that's going to be very helpful. A lot of people are going to be going with sort of that studs and duds approach, which means T. Higgins will be left out of lineups like that, but I don't think that's the optimal way to play this one. He is an optimal flex play nearly 32% of the time, and in an additional 7.5% of our simulations, he is the optimal captain play. He had 194 receiving yards in a game in week 16. This could absolutely be another ceiling week for Higgins. He's in the optimal lineup 39% of the time. At At number 4, his teammate JaMarr Chase. And like I said, one of these two, Chase or Higgins, one of these two has to show up in a big way for this team to have a chance. And JaMarr Chase has been spectacular as a rookie. I mean, 5 receptions last week. Okay, that's not so much. 109 receiving yards. That's after an 116 receiving yard game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Right now, nobody can cover JaMarr Chase, and I don't think there's anyone in the secondary of the Chiefs who can do it either. Now, we did see the Chiefs kind of sell out to stop Stephon Diggs last week. I wonder if JaMarr Chase gets that same treatment. I'm not so sure though, and that's what our simulations are showing. They're showing some uncertainty, and when there are times when the Chiefs don't blanket him in double coverage, he's scoring a lot of fantasy points, over 30 in 25% of our simulations. And so a 10,000 salary, that's really the kind of score you need. An 18-point median projection, that's okay. That's all right, but he's got to have more than that to be worthwhile at that high salary. He's an optimal flex play over 30% of the time in our simulations, and nearly 9% of the time he's an optimal captain play. JaMarr Chase is just an awesome player, and I can't believe how young he is. He is just 21.9 years old. He's not even 22 yet. Oh my gosh, just an amazing player, playing great. Let's see if he can do it on the biggest stage. He's in the optimal lineup 40% of the time. At number 3, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, Tyreek Hill is healthy. His heel is fine. How do I know? 11 receptions on 13 targets for 150 receiving yards and a touchdown, 31 fantasy points. Just an outrageous performance in that game against the Bills. And so you're not surprised to see a nearly 30% chance of him scoring 30 fantasy points again. I mean, hey, he just did it. And the Bengals arguably are a worse defense in every way compared to the Buffalo Bills. They are the worst team in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to opposing offenses among all the playoff defenses here, and 10th of 14 teams in PFF team defensive grades. The offense for the Kansas City Chiefs is clearly out of their slump after the way that they played in the second half and overtime of that thriller in the divisional round. Tyreek Hill at nearly 11,000 in salary. He's still the optimal captain nearly 10% of the time, and in a third of our lineups, he's an optimal flex. He's the number 3 player in 43% of our optimal lineups. At number 2, Joe Burrow. Joe Cool has been incredible this postseason, and statistically, it was only okay. You could just tell he had a sense of the game. He was making good calls against the Las Vegas Raiders, but despite taking 9 sacks against the Titans in the divisional round, 348 passing yards, over 9 yards per attempt, did have that 1 interception, but that is the only interception so far in the postseason. And while he didn't throw any touchdowns, man, the efficiency is up there with any quarterback in the AFC. You heard me, any quarterback in the AFC. That's how well Joe Burrow is playing right now. He's got nearly 20 fantasy points as his median projection and is scoring over 30 fantasy points a quarter of the time in our simulations. I think that's a little bearish, actually. I think he could easily get over 30 fantasy points here, something he did two weeks in a row in weeks 16 and 17. One of those, of course, against these same Kansas City Chiefs. Not surprised to see a 35% chance of him getting into the optimal flex play, but it's that optimal captain spot. That's really interesting for me because usually I shy away from quarterbacks, but because of the salary of the premium skill position players, I might actually be over the field on Joe Burrow. I think he's going to need a huge game here, as I've been hinting at, and I think he could definitely have one against this mediocre Kansas City defense. I'm excited for the fireworks in this one. Not quite as exciting as the number 1 play, but Joe Burrow is in 44% of our optimal lineups. Now, before I reveal my final play, my number 1 play on DraftKings for this AFC Championship game, just want to remind you guys, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you guys could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. Also want to give one more shout out to our presenting sponsor, FanUp. Use promo code Awesemo when you sign up and you can get 2,000 bonus points, which is the equivalent of $20 to use to bet on their platform, and $4,000 winner take all conference chaos contest, NBA contest on top of that. They got a lot going on over at FanUp. Use promo code Awesemo and check it out today. Okay, guys, let's go into my number one player on this AFC Championship one-game slate. At number one, was there any doubt that it was going to be Patrick Mahomes? There shouldn't have been any doubt, because Mahomes is playing as well as we've ever seen him play. 404 passing yards against the Steelers in the wild card round, 378 passing yards against the Bills last week. One of the best offensive performances you will ever see. He's got 8 touchdowns in the playoffs already. He's run for another touchdown on top of that. Even though the salary is ridiculously high, $11,200, we're still seeing him as the optimal captain in 17% of our simulations. In 46% of our simulations, he's scoring over 30 fantasy points. Floor and ceiling combination is just unparalleled. And again, this Bengals secondary might be the worst secondary he's faced since that Week 17 game where he had, a so-so game, 7.4 yards per attempt, but I'm sure he wants more than the 259 yards passing he had against them just as the season was winding down. He is the optimal flex play nearly 42% of the time, and he's in the optimal lineup way more than anyone else, nearly 59% of the time. And that is going to do it for the AFC Championship DraftKings Contenders video. If you're looking for the FanDuel version of this video, it's around here somewhere. Go ahead and look for it on the channel. We will be back for all the NFC Championship needs and your Super Bowl needs in the 2 weeks leading up to the big game. Until then, I'm Matt Savoca from Awesemo.com. We'll see you guys next time.